And here we are. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Dion's Daily Dose for June 8th, 2020. So we had a meeting that unfortunately ran a little over. I wasn't able to get back in time to set the whole thing up. But here we are. It's a little late, better late than never, right? And I mean, it's Monday, right? Monday. So I have a whole bunch of information to share with you today. Hi, Sarah. Thanks for joining us. Glad you could pop in. There is a lot going on. I don't know if you saw it, but there is a CBS News article. Let me see if I can find it. That they actually, that's not the one. I gotta find it. I know I sent it to someone. That's usually it's usually how it goes. But anyway, if you look it up, it's a CBS News article that talks about how the virus does not apparently. Here it is. Yeah, I found it. Let me get this shared to you so that you can see. Sorry, CNBC. Is the link for it. I thought it was CBS, but it's not. CNBC. Asymptomatic spread of coronavirus is, quote, very rare, WHO says. Have you seen this article? Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Let me get this shared to you so you can take a look. Here it is. All right. Oh my goodness. No, I don't want your newsletter because you guys suck. CNBC. Asymptomatic spread of coronavirus is very rare, WHO says. I won't go through the whole thing, but I will give you the link. Government responses should focus on detecting and isolating infected people with symptoms, the World Health Organization said. Isn't it interesting how all of a sudden we decide not to give them money and all of a sudden they start telling the truth? Preliminary evidence from the earliest outbreaks indicated the virus could spread even if people didn't have symptoms. But the WHO says that while asymptomatic spread can occur, it is, quote, very rare. So let's all remember that we literally shut down our economy for a virus that the asymptomatic spread is very rare. There's a lot more that I want to share with you today. We're going to kind of keep it moving, but by all means, jump in here. There you go. So this is actually a really interesting article, and it is from Undercover DC. It says, Democrats can kiss their riot cycle strategy goodbye. It's by Brian Cates. A couple days ago, June 6th. On May 25th, one of the 10 million arrests that U.S. police officers make every year in the United States went horribly wrong. An unarmed man being arrested for the crime of trying to pass his counterfeit $20 bill to buy some food somehow ended up dead in police custody. Video shot on a street in Minneapolis, Minnesota, showed a black man named George Floyd lying face down with his hands cuffed behind his back, while a white police officer named Derek Chauvin knelt on the back of Floyd's neck. I keep wanting to say Chauvin. The video is horrific. We all know what happened now, right? Once this video went viral, a firestorm erupted across America. How could this have happened? Nationwide protests erupted everywhere over this incident. But then something more sinister emerged. The multitude of peaceful protests began morphing nightly into destructive riots that caused hundreds of millions of dollars worth of damage as looters ransacked entire city blocks in places like New York City, Minneapolis, LA, and over a dozen other cities across the US. Antifa is back. We know it has emerged that a nationwide coordinated network of anarchist groups loosely called Antifa had been preparing for some time to unleash simultaneous violent attacks on many American cities. And the Floyd incident in Minneapolis gave them the cover to launch. We know they popped up in 2015, right? After he won 2016 and a number of violent demonstrations. But by the middle of 2018, they seemingly vanished. Now it has become clear that they're back, and they spent the last 2 years carefully planning this resurgence. We know the agenda. They want to overthrow the present political system, and to do that, they must directly subvert civic order. While peacefully protesting is a First Amendment right guaranteed in the U.S. Constitution, there is no right to loot and destroy stores, burn down buildings, violently assault people, or destroy other people's property. As these nightly riots across America dragged on for over a week, it also became clear that the Democratic officials in charge of the blue states weren't in any hurry to end these riots. It's Trump's fault my city's burning, so please don't vote for him. It became especially clear in places like New York City that Cuomo and de Blasio were not feeling any urgency to restore civic order. Cuomo steadfastly refused to send in the National Guard, while de Blasio pulled the NYPD back and ordered it to stand down. Both men then spent days blaming Trump for the increased rioting and destruction that occurred. So when the question is asked, why do these elected officials in deep blue states insist on giving vandals, anarchists, and looters space to destroy these cities? Prepare yourselves for a shock. It's all about President Trump. It's all about the election this November. Democrats desperately wanted the optics of U.S. soldiers, bayonets fixed, confronting and driving back the peaceful protesters from the stores they were burning and looting. These people truly thought they had Trump boxed in. They were wrong. As he did with the COVID-19 response, Trump has avoided the traps laid for him while solving the problem. As Democrats and their media sycophants relentlessly tried to browbeat Trump into taking control of states away from the governors and handling the virus response himself, when they weren't loudly demanding he nationalize entire U.S. industries, he ignored them and solved the problems his way. Trump created an incredible partnership between federal agencies and private industry, the likes of which had not been seen since World War II. He fixed the ventilator shortage issue, the COVID-19 testing issue, and all the PPE issue, all without seizing control or nationalizing anything. So Democrats used the riots as lockdown plan B. That's really what it comes down to. We know what they wanted. It's a good article. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing, but it really does tell us what's going on here. And I think it's a good read. But moving on, I want to show you, if you have not seen this, this is big. This is really big. You ready for this? I'm going to share this with you. Everyone knows about Epstein, right? We all know Epstein didn't kill himself. We all know that Prince Andrew was connected. That's been proven. But what are we going to do about it? What is our justice system going to do? They've been traditionally very cautious about issuing any statements or arrest warrants or anything like that for the royal family for obvious reasons. Well, this is 2020, and apparently things change. Yes, Eric says Antifa was the ADA back in the day. Yeah, they're all connected. It's all part of an agenda. If you look at the flag, the symbol for Antifa, it goes way back to Germany in the 30s. It's almost an exact match. Take a look at this. Boom. Hand Andy over. This is from thesun.com. Hand Andy over. U.S. officially demands Britain hand over Prince Andrew to be quizzed over his links to pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. It's an interesting choice of words, quiz. The U.S. has officially demanded Britain hand over Prince Andrew to be quizzed over his links to Epstein. And in a bombshell move, the Department of Justice has formally told the UK the Duke of York is now caught up in a criminal probe for the first time. There's that nasty. Anyway. Andrew has so far refused, he's 60, has so far refused to be quizzed. They keep using the word quizzed by New York prosecutors investigating Epstein's evil historic sex trafficking network, but strongly denies any wrongdoing. Until now, it was thought he was only likely to be the target of action by the victims in the U.S. civil courts. When everyone should be pretty familiar with the story, but the U.S. Department of Justice has dramatically upped the stakes. It has bypassed Buckingham Palace, instead filing a mutual legal assistance, MLA, request to the Home Office. MLA requests are only used in criminal cases under a legal treaty with the UK. It means Andrew, who categorically denies any wrongdoing, could now be forced to appear in a UK court as a witness within months. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Actually, Eric brings up, yes, there is a royal law, but I want to show you something a little further down that's actually very, very interesting. It does say it's a huge statement of intent from the U.S. and it moves Andrew into the realms of a criminal investigation. It's also, frankly, a diplomatic nightmare. But down here, let's see here. Let me find it. There's some really interesting. Here it is. Andrew, unlike the Queen, does not hold sovereign immunity from prosecution. He does not have the Queen's protection. I think that's really, really important to remember. I didn't know that. I thought the entire royal family was exempt from prosecution, but apparently that's not the case. Apparently, Andrew is not covered by that for whatever reason. Might be interesting to find out. The latest update to that I saw right before I got on, I don't have the link, but that Britain is intending not to cooperate. So it might be interesting. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. So I want to share this with everybody. I'm really, really excited. My grandmother actually sent me my grandfather's a copy of my grandfather's DD 214. He actually served in the Air Force and in the Army. She made a copy of it. It was in really, really bad shape. She took a picture of the original. It's all like falling apart. But this is his general discharge from the Army. And this is a copy of his certificate of service. I don't know if you'll be able to read it, but I'm going to contact my local VFW and talk to them, see if this is good enough or if I need to put in for a official from the Army thing. But at least I have the information on here that I should need to obtain one. I was really, really excited when I went to the mailbox today. I was like, oh, I think this is it. And it is. So yay, I'm excited about that. Let me show you something else. Here it is. So apparently Devin Nunez is in overdrive. Let's see here. Devin Nunez flashes as many as 10 criminal referrals to the Justice Department. This was on the 6th, 2 days ago. House Intelligence Committee Republicans are nearly ready to send more criminal referrals to the Justice Department related to the Russia investigation. After shipping 8 referrals to Attorney General William Barr last spring, Rep. Devin Nunez, the ranking member of the panel, told Fox Business on Thursday that they have gathered enough evidence for, quote, at least another 5, possibly as many as 10 recommendations for prosecution as 3 U.S. attorneys conduct reviews of various aspects of the Russia investigation. The California Republican said he and his GOP colleagues want to, quote, get it right, but they plan to send the referrals within the next week to 10 days or so. What exactly will appear in those referrals remains unclear, but Nunez explained what his investigators are examining. We now are looking at the overall General Flynn investigation and how that was conducted and the rest of the Mueller team, he said. And then, of course, as new information has come to light from the information that was declassified by Acting Director of National Intelligence Rick Grenell, that information has also shown that there are other people who have lied or misled Congress or have, I think in some cases, maybe lied by omission, documents that were kept from Congress. A lot of good info here. So Conservative Choice Campaign is the name of the website. That's who actually helped me a lot with that's really good. So one thing that the mainstream media is not telling you is Hillary Clinton actually had to show up in court about her emails, and it did not go her way. The media is, of course, not covering it because they're focused on everything else, but it did not go her way, and she is forced to testify under oath come, I believe, September. Yes, there is so much going on, and we have waited a very long time for this stuff. I think we waited long enough. I really do. I think it's time to start prosecuting these people for the attempted coup against a sitting United States president. I think it's time to start parading these people around. And I'm going to tell you, let's look at the Stone arrest, right? CNN somehow, some way knew that the FBI was going to serve the warrant on Roger Stone and were conveniently there to videotape it all, right? I think Fox News should have the same heads up when they go and they arrest all the people that were in on this. I think they should have the same. Although, you know what? OAN maybe? At 5 a.m. Thank you, Eric. Absolutely. At 5 o'clock in the morning is when they did this. Look, they had a SWAT team. All of that was unnecessary. We're talking about a white-collar crime. Regardless of how you feel about Roger Stone, we can all agree that the man didn't need a SWAT team to be brought into custody. That was pure optics. That was pure politics. The whole thing just was ridiculous, and it's nonsense. The whole thing is nonsense, and I cannot personally wait until there are real consequences for all of these people for the things that they perpetrated on the American people, for the things that they have lied straight to our faces, right? Schiff, this made-up phone call that he came up with, the fact that he paraded himself in front of these cameras day after day after day, talking about definite evidence. We know that he did this. We know he did that. We have all of these media personalities that are lying to you and me day after day about the things that they claim that were done. And, I've seen evidence. These very same people now that documents show knew there was no evidence. They admitted there was no evidence. So what's going to happen to them? What is going to be done? I am excited to see justice. We have waited for it for a very long time. I'm hoping that these criminal prosecutions that he's talking about are actually going to happen soon. What do you think? Right before the election? Right before November, maybe? Maybe we'll see some doors get kicked in and people dragged out of their beds in the wee hours of the morning, the way they've done to so many people that did nothing wrong. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Look, regardless of how you feel about our president, regardless of how you feel about some of the people in his administration, I think it's very clear that a SWAT team was unnecessary in order to serve a warrant on how old is Roger Stone? He's up there. Let's find out. Let's see what Google tells us. How old is Roger Stone? 67, according to this. Okay, he was born August 27th, 1952. So 67 years old. I don't think a SWAT team is necessary to take a 67-year-old man into custody. Let's look at the video, right, that everyone's getting rightfully outraged about, where they pushed the old man down in Buffalo. I know it was in New York. They pushed this old man down, and he was hurt on the ground. He's not that much older than Roger Stone. I mean, now granted, Stone's in pretty good. I'd say he's in pretty good physical health, but he's old. He's old. Do you really think a SWAT team is necessary to take him into custody? Come on. And what killed me were the people that were cheering it on. They were like, "Oh, yes, they do that." These same people that are up in arms about any little rights infringement, right? The same people that want to tell you, "Oh, our police are bad. They're doing this, they're doing that." It doesn't make sense. The narrative is falling apart at this point. How they can even keep this stuff together and with a straight face and tell the American people, "Oh yeah, we need to do this," is beyond me. It really is. So here's an article from Conservative Choice Campaign about why Medicare for All will not work. And the guy who wrote it, Gen Z Conservative, he has a website. He's actually a pretty smart dude. I read a lot of his posts, and he makes some really good, really good points. This is from June 6th, but I think the original post is a little older because he's talking about like Elizabeth Warren and stuff like that. But it's a good read. Medicare, according to this, Medicare for All will not work. Despite Warren's assurances to the contrary, there is no reason at all to suspect that Medicare for All will somehow be successful and different from every other big government program. Plus, Elizabeth Warren is a constant liar. Why should you even believe her in the first place? The government likes to imagine that it can manage programs well. Unfortunately, that just isn't true. The government can't innovate quickly. Its bureaucrats are often incompetent and unable to perform even the most basic customer service related tasks. Furthermore, government programs are often wildly inefficient and unproductively spend billions of tax dollars that could have been productively invested or reinvested by the public sector. It's obvious that the government doesn't work, so I don't see why it's so hard for our representatives and friends on the left to see that Medicare for All will not work. Where did it come from? Where it all originated, right? Like many other socialist programs, this modern version of free medicine called Medicare for All came from Bernie Sanders. Luckily, most Americans recognize that he and his agenda are shams. Yes, we do. Unfortunately, fewer people realize that Medicare for All is still a ridiculous idea now that Elizabeth Warren has picked it up. Some say that Medicare for All is not a program. I say that is quite obviously a lie. Its proponents like to hide behind the veil of just wanting to help others, but what real Americans recognize is that Medicare for All came into being only because Congress needed another way to bribe the public with the public's own money. If the bleeding heart politicians that claim to want to help the poor receive medical care, then they would cut taxes on medicine-related investing and ensure through other tax cuts that our medical companies remain the best in the world. Instead, they just want to tax everyone more, even if they are saving to create an account to invest and pay for medical expenses. That is ridiculous and shows the Democrats' tendency to drift towards tyranny and hypocrisy. So, in summary, Medicare for All originated as one of Bernie Sanders' many socialist plots. It was driven forward by the desire of the Democrats to bribe the American public with dollars and by the rapid support Sanders receives for his sham agenda. It goes into a little more, but it does it does make some compelling arguments. There are links. It is backed up. One thing that I do really like about Gen Z conservative is he does give information about his links and information. I appreciate that from him. So many places are just like, oh yeah, just listen to what I say, and they don't actually do it. Apparently it's trying to post it twice. I don't know. Looks like it went through though. We have a system in this country that isn't perfect. Our healthcare system, we know it's not perfect. There are people that have a lot of trouble paying their medical bills. I've been there. But there are positives to our system as well. And Medicare for all would pretty much destroy every single positive that we actually have. I think there's a better way. I've talked about my healthcare plan before. I won't have an opportunity to do that in U.S. Congress this year, but that's okay. Working on something else that I'm not at liberty to discuss just yet. But I will tell you that I have received an outpouring of support that from people that are like, you should run for something else, definitely. So that's being talked about. It's being worked on. I will tell you that I'm gonna try to get to this soon and clean this up a little bit. Today we were kind of busy doing some other stuff. The older teenager wanted to go and get his girlfriend and spend some time with her and drop them off at the beach. Speaking of the beach, the Michigan City mayor doesn't now. My initial understanding was that he just didn't want to pay for lifeguards. That was the story that was put out, and I was like, oh wow, that's bad. Actually, it turns out that there weren't enough applicants, not even remotely. We could not generate enough applicants of people who actually could be lifeguards on the beach. I think that's important. It's important to have the whole story, and that's one thing that lacks from our news media, our big media companies out there. They want to give us tiny little sound bites and little bits. Speaking of, I don't know if you've heard this, right? But the thing that's going around is that Donald Trump talked about how people are looking down and happy about the unemployment numbers. That was misquoted. It's only the latest in a number of clips and misquotes.
There's also one where he's going, I can't breathe, and saying they're making fun of George Floyd, and he's actually talking about Bloomberg dying in the elections. Like, I can't breathe.
Oh, yeah. So apparently there's an older clip of him talking about Bloomberg and how Bloomberg died in the election. And of course, they're using it to say he's making fun of George Floyd. I urge you that if you believe, even for a moment, that Trump was talking about the job numbers, go watch the whole clip. Go watch the entire clip, not the one on MSNBC, not the one on CNN, but the actual unedited clip. And you'll see there's like 2 minutes of talking about equality in this country, about how he would be proud that we are getting some things addressed that are serious concerns, right? That's what he was talking about. It's that the Constitution makes everyone equal. It's been that way for a long time. That's what we got. That it's so frustrating, especially as a conservative, to see blatant deception. We've always known, like we knew growing up, that the news had a certain slant depending on which channel, you turned it on. We knew Fox News would give you a little more to the right, and NBC was a little more to the left. CNN we knew was full tilt left. It's just blatant now. Like they don't even try to make it accurate. I really hope that we start to see more unbiased news sources out there. And unfortunately, like I mentioned OAN, the reason I mentioned OAN is because they had CNN there for Stone. They should go the full other direction because, again, OAN, it's good reporting. I think it's good reporting. I'm a fan of OAN, but I don't see them being critical of Trump at all. Hardly ever. And I will say this about, like, for example, Tucker Carlson. I've seen some of his bits where he was like, yeah, I don't think this was a good plan. Trump did this, not so much. He tries, right? He tries. Plus, didn't he work at, he used to work at CNN and NBC and a couple other places. So he's been around the block. Some people like Tucker, some people don't. It is what it is. I like his look, right? That look that he's like, I can't do it. I can't imitate it. I'll try to work on it, but there are some quality, especially lately. He's been on fire. There have been some really good things that, yeah. There you go. Have Tucker cover it. I think that would be good. Having him cover these 5 a.m. raids on, these dangerous people that it takes a SWAT team to take down a 60-something-year-old man. This is so ridiculous.
Hey, have you seen
67.
Lately, they're buff.
Have I seen what?
Have you seen the citizens lately? They're buff.
Right, yeah. My wife Liz, she's like, have you seen these senior citizens lately? They're buff. Yeah, they got some out there that are. There's this guy in China that he's like this super martial arts master, right? And he's like 80 something, 90 something years old, and he is in much better shape than I have ever been in my life. And you never know. But I can attest to the fact that this is not Roger Stone. Roger Stone is not this guy. He's not breaking boards and bricks and all this stuff. I don't know. It was a political stunt. It was purely end of story on that. And how did CNN know that they were going to be raiding him at 5 a.m.? Yeah, it was pure luck, right? Pure luck. So I'm going to tell you, so this election, right, that we just had, they are still trying to figure out what they're going to do as far as LaPorte County goes. There's been a lot of coverage about some of the stuff that has happened, and it was just, they didn't even try to to make it look legit. Apparently there's 80 something missing votes, 41 missing machines, all kinds of stuff. So I recommend the regional news on Facebook if you're looking for coverage of that. And Justin Keel, he does a really good job of reporting. He's won multiple awards. He does a much better job of covering it than I could. But we think that the prosecutor is going to pick it up, perhaps the election board. I've talked to my compatriots, first district Republicans, and we all agree that there's something up. And I've made my statement. I have made my video about it. We're supposed to get together soon, and we're probably going to send a letter to the prosecutor and ask him to look into it. That's really all we can do, though. I don't know if there are other legal actions that are available to us. I don't know if there's anything else that can be done. I mean, the election is what it is. It's over. It's done. I just think there are a lot of irregularities. And again, I'm going to say it, there's some numbers that just don't make sense. They just do not make sense. Whatever. I'm going to move on. I think that there are other voices that are in desperate need of someone willing and able to speak up for them. So I'm going to focus on that. For those of you who didn't catch yesterday's show, I had tried to reach out to John McAfee, and I meet, there's a criteria list of, if you meet these criteria, he's willing to come on the show. And I haven't had my podcast show, whatever, long enough. I meet every other thing. 9 months. I have to have had it for 9 months. I'm not even, I don't know. They say, round up, I've had it for a year, but no. It hasn't been 9 months. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to have him on, at least for a little while, maybe later. Heck yeah, Eric John is awesome. I know. I was so excited about the possibility of John McAfee coming on the show. I'm going to tell you, for those of you, you'll know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to go into detail about it, but the footage, right? The drone footage of Little St. James Island, Epstein's Island. I believe we have John McAfee to thank for that, because he was on his boat down in the area at the time. And we know he has the money for cool gadgets like that. The quality of it was amazing. And I said in my email that I believe we have him to thank for that. And they didn't deny it. I'm just going to put that out there. I'm just going to say that. No, I'm not saying that. Mary Streetman says, I just tuned in. Are you thinking that Leyva may not be the winner? Look, I'm not saying that. I am not saying anything. What I am saying is that there have been multiple very serious issues with the election results or procedures in LaPorte County. The regional news has reported on it. Multiple candidates have come out, some in undisputed races or uncontested races, that have Democrats and Republicans that have come out and said, what is going on here? We have missing machines that are unaccounted for. We have votes that were not counted from one of the Cool Spring precincts. We have security measures that were not followed. We had people that were kicked out of the counting area, the ballot counting area. We don't know, right? We don't know what happened with everything. What we do know, and by we, I'm talking about myself, Spencer Lemons, Mont Hanley, and Delano Scaife. We have communicated post-election, and we have said there's something up, right? Numbers alone are just bizarre, right? But with the procedures, something just doesn't seem right. And then the regional news actually reported on it. You can look them up. They made some fantastic some fantastic points. Mary, that's a good point. Just vote Democrat. Your vote counts 2 times. Right. Look, and here's the other thing. We knew that we would have a lot of Republicans going to go and vote on the D ticket to make sure that McDermott did not win that primary. And I get that. But the other thing that's really weird to me and all of us is how quickly McDermott conceded. He conceded the night of, just a few hours in. Now, remember, LaPorte results weren't even predicted to be done for 72 hours. He conceded awfully early, like really early. And if you look at the results in LaPorte, at least, Eric says Lake County is recounting too. Interesting.
So it might not be over.
It is what it is. Look, I am more than willing to. I looked at the numbers. I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't win, and I'm okay with that. I am absolutely okay with that. Personally, I just hope that if all this, once the dust settles, if Mark Leyva is the winner, I just pray that he actually works. To call in to WJOB and brag about the fact that you did nothing, I think it's a bad look. I think it's a bad look. Multiple people were willing to help him, but I'm not going to do more work than the candidate does. Why? Why would I do that? Why would I work harder than they're willing to work? Oh, Eric says recorder race noticed the numbers were wrong. Interesting. I did not know that. I need to look that up. Any of us in Northwest Indiana, we know the numbers, right? We know that especially once they said, oh yeah, anybody can get a ballot. Little bit of good news. I can't find the article, but I did read that I think it's Kokomo. It was an article that was done by Kokomo. They actually called the governor and the Secretary of State and said, hey, given all the issues that we have, are we going to plan on doing this again come November? Are we going to let just anybody get a ballot? And the governor and Secretary of State's office were both like, yeah, I don't think so. Let's get through this election first before we start talking about the next one. But I don't think we're going to allow this again. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen between now and then? It's up in the air. It's up in the air. I'll tell you this. When I talked to, because I called Laban the next day, and I said, does anything seem off to you about these numbers? Anything? No, not at all. Well, I'm not even talking about your numbers, right? I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about in general. Does anything seem off? No. All right. Oh, okay. I can't click on it now, but I will definitely check it out after I end here in just a minute, and I'll be watching that. It's good to know. It's good to know that people are willing to call this stuff out, and that's the reason that I talk about this, is because we need to know about it. We need to know that things are being done, that our election is secure, because how can we really say your voice is counted, your voice matters, when it doesn't? And LaPorte County is just a symptom of a larger problem. There are issues in this election. We were told this. The president said, oh, this is a bad idea. And of course, the Democrat Party's like, oh, no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Yeah, okay. Here's a thought. Jack has an interesting thought. Buttons are assigned a digital number on the machine. Candidate is a digital number assigned, like button 3 on this screen will be candidate 127. So what happens if someone by accident assigned powers to 127 accidentally instead of someone else? That is interesting. That is an interesting thought. I think I'm telling you something up. It is what it is. Something's up. I'm hoping that we can get to the bottom of it. I'm hoping that they can find out what's going on. I am going to be moving on to something else. There are a number of people that were like, mayor. I'm not going to run for mayor. A friend of mine is considering running for mayor, and I'm not going to get in the way of that. Again, there are discussions in the works that I'm not at liberty to talk about just yet, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens soon. I appreciate you dropping the link for that, Eric, and I'm going to take a look in here in just a minute. And I started a little late, so thanks everybody for joining me. Tomorrow I'll be on time, and God bless you, and God bless the USA. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Whoa, I'm not going to end it yet. Eric said, yeah, thank you. He said, we all know something's up. The lockdown slowed down people's thoughts and opened a can of worms. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. I showed you the virus it doesn't have near the numbers they thought it would. Many people are walking their statements back. Now it's okay to protest if they agree with what you're protesting. Remember all these people that went out and protested and said, hey, these stay-at-home orders are unconstitutional. These governors, these mayors, they're breaking the Constitution. Everybody was against that. The mainstream media, all these people were like, no, you need to go home. You need to lock yourself in. Professional medical professionals are now saying, no, we've looked at the risk factors, and it's okay for people to go protest social justice, but not our constitutional whatever. God bless you, and God bless the USA.